First ever video with the phone. Just thought I'd try it for the heck of it. Somebody needed to know how to wire a derby car in a simple way. I'm going to show you the most simple way here. This is out of the pure stock car I ran. It holds one battery inside of it. It used to be a tranny cooler. Too small for a tranny cooler, so now it's a single battery box. Anyways, I'll go over it real quick here. This normally sits where the passenger seat would be. The reason I'm explaining that is I'll explain why my switches are the way they are. And you can run switches or not run switches. I know some people say switches fail, but I'll explain more here. This is a handle I built you can hold on to. It'll be right next to you, so it makes it easier for when you're getting jostled to restart or whatever. If you can't run a box like this or whatever, when I first was running really stock cars without tranny coolers or any boxes in them, I'd just make something like this and weld it right to the floor pan of a car or bolt it. Two simple switches: push button for start, on off for ignition. I'll show how this is wired here. You can see one single battery system, negative. Never hook anything up to negative. I don't need any use for it. And just one power wire going into here, and then I'll splice it together and one power into the ignition switch and one into the starter. And it's just one simple wire. As you see, I always use a stick gauge. I buy it in 100 feet, and it's just one wire to the starter. And there are two terminals in the back. If you're lucky, they're marked S to tell you which one's the starter. And there's another one here. It's for activating stuff on stock, normal, just street-driven cars. Blah blah blah. Don't really care what it is. Don't know what it is. Don't bother with it. And then, of course, your battery cable directly to positive from the same positive cable you saw over here. Now, depending on what ignition system you're running, if you're running an HEI, you can just run the same old wire. This is my wire. I always run old fuel hose. I save the old fuel hose on the derby car for protection. And I'm just going to run it to, you'll see, HEI. This is just a cap, top cap. One says tack, and one says battery. That's all you got to use. Is somebody was asking me about grounds. There's no grounds to hook up. It grounds to the distributor and the motor. I'll show you the insides of it. Basically, you got your ground coming in for to run to the distributor itself. You know, these three wires here are going to hook up to the distributor, which I have up over here. And you can see the three wires that's going to plug into the distributor cap that goes into your halifax switch, whatever we call it. Basically, it's the magnetic little rotisserie thing in there that fires it. HEIs, like that coil, is always mounted on top of the cab. So, and the negative cable, which I say I don't run any wires to. All I do is I run that to the back of the head, because usually on small block Chevys and everything usually has some sort of easy to get to bolt hole. Now for a points car, it's a little bit tricky, because depending on how they are, they're designed to run with maybe a resistance wire. So that means you'd have to get one of those little annoying little blocks that are easy to break. Or what I do, these are getting hard to find, is an old Bosch blue, or just get yourself a performance coil that has no resistor needed, and you can just run it to the positive side. The negative side is going to go to your point system to fire the coil. The only problem I can warn you with this is you want to make sure you keep that switch off, because the system will burn out points really fast if the switch is left on. And it's pretty much the basic bones of it. Now for an alternator, I actually have, this actually runs from the positive cable. You notice actually, I guess I said I had 3 wires spliced. Actually I have 4 wires spliced. There's another one coming out that goes up to the alternator. The reason for this tape on here is because normally there'll be a toggle switch here, a high amp toggle switch too, but I kicked it and broke it, so I had to come up with something quick. I just wired the 2 terminals together and taped it off. Now this wire goes up to the alternator. I'll show you how to full-filled an alternator, which it's not really full-filled. I guess it's to ignite the stator, but the problem with that's why there's a switch here, because you have to turn the switch off, otherwise it'll kill your battery. Or you can run a 1-wire alternator, which I'm running on that car now, but I still run the switch just in case. So when I'm toning that, I just don't trust them. But anyways, and somebody will say, well, if you run a 1-wire or you run this jumper system, you're not getting true voltage that an alternator put out. Yeah, it's somewhat true, but it doesn't matter because it's a derby car. You don't have any other electrical systems to worry about charging, so the battery's it. I'll go show you how the alternator is wired. The motor's in the garage. Lots of stuff in here. Lots of motors in here. In fact, it's really hard to get to this one. That's behind the engine stand. And the engine hoist. And here you can see the wire that goes to the terminal on the back normally. And then all I do is run a jumper from there to there. And that'll get it going, sort of. You actually got to get the alternator to about 1200 RPMs or something to actually get it to go on. But once it does, it'll fire. But like I said, if you don't have a switch, turn it off. Or you can, if you've got a big enough hole in your hood, you can just pull that wire off all the time. I've done that, but then if you forget, so that's why I like the switch. And I'll normally put the switch in the off is in the down position. So if it ever gets knocked, it just gets knocked off, not knocked on. So there you go, basic wiring system. There you can see the HEI for this car, and the wire is still connected. It's not really going anywhere, but it's still connected to the battery terminal right here, which on this one is in the front position. But there you go, hope that helps you out. See ya.